I teach a class on Cardinal Bernardine, and in the course of doing that, one of the questions that comes up all the time, it's been decades, why are we still talking about this man? The answer, I believe, is in the questions themselves. What was it in him that turned him toward justice and reconciliation and peacemaking? It is precisely those questions which make him the bishop who is worth still thinking and talking about and remembering now 30 years later.
Cardinal Joseph Bernardin, he was the Archbishop of Chicago from 1982 to 1996. Chicago has always been a uniquely Catholic town, but Cardinal Bernardin did not only have a voice, I would say, for Chicago, he had an international audience, right? And he used that voice to share a message of peace, reconciliation, interreligious dialogue. What was striking is that
everything that he preached, he actually lived.
Cardinal Bernardin talked about what he called a seamless garment. And to me, it's kind of like spiritual formation. So being formed in a certain way with a certain community, the crosses so many of those boundaries that traditionally separated us. What I see in Bernardin's legacy, and that CTU does very well, is inculcating this spirituality that the person on the other side of that boundary is a fellow carrier of God's own image, and that's our starting point.
And so when it became clear that Cardinal Bernardin was dying, the fact that CTU could continue Cardinal Bernardin's legacy right here in Chicago, a place that has been so important for the theological imagination, it was just the right thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why the decision to bring a Bernardin Center to CTU to continue Cardinal Bernardin's work came about both so quickly, but also so naturally.
When you consider Cardinal Bernardin's impact, especially inside the walls of CTU, it's a humbling kind of honor to be a part of the legacy of Cardinal Bernardin and to live his vision of church, which for me really informs the way I do my own work, especially in the way that I want Catholic university education to shape our young people for a life of moral and ethical leadership, where they see all of these issues of life and love and justice as connected.
That is really something that I wanted from my post-grad education, and the Brennan Scholarship in a very real way made it possible for me to study at CTU. As a young lay woman, I didn't have a religious community or a diocese that was funding my seminary experience. So that was really significant for me. And so because I had that scholarship and because I was encouraged to learn about Cardinal Bernardin, I discovered Catholic leadership that no matter the issue he was speaking about, the same values drove his words, his preaching, things like inclusivity, mercy, love.
Those values were ones I was already practicing, but I didn't know I shared them with the Cardinal. So when people hear I'm a Bernardin scholar, the reaction is like, whoa. As I continue to learn more and more about his legacy, I understand that reaction. Coming into CTU, I felt a little intimidated because I'm very aware of what I don't know. But being awarded the Bernardin Scholarship empowers me that my voice matters, my context matters. It affirms who I am and encourages me to find the ways that I can do my part to really help build a holy and just church and society.
The amazing thing the Bernardin Center enables us to do is to introduce Cardinal Bernardin in this way that is connected to the mission of CTU, but it also invites these students to reflect on how they, in their own ministries, once they leave CTU, will continue his legacy.
And that's the ultimate goal, right? Bernardin, I think, saw in this place, I would say, a sort of crib of Bethlehem. The fact that he chose this little tiny space speaks volumes, because he knew that the seed of the gospel, how it works. And I think we have to keep that.